I would like to apologise in advance for any pronunciation errors that I might make, because it turns out that I cannot speak English at all. Hi there, my name is Bethany and you're watching a 5-minute review on Writing Werewolf. So today we're going to be reviewing Fatal Conceit by John Ritter. So John was very kind enough to send me a free copy of this book for me to review, and I have to say, I loved it. I don't normally read thrillers. I read them if they're sent to me, but I don't really like sort of search them out. I haven't really recently. I used to be really big into crime, but more recently I haven't really been searching them out. I've been looking more for fantasy and things like that. The opportunity to read Fatal Conceit came up and I thought, do you know what, let's go, let's do it. It's going to be good. I can feel it in my bones, and I was right, and that's the main thing. My bones were right. So Fatal Conceit is, I can't even describe the plot because that gives stuff away. It's a very complicated novel, is what I'll start with. It's very complex. The plot has a lot of moving parts to it, but it's so worth the read. The writing style is a little strange to get used to. It's like a really fast-paced first-person narration. It's almost like free writing, or like flow of consciousness writing of this main character, Bupra. Oh my god, Bopra. We're going with Bopra. It does take some time to get used to this sort of narrative style, but once you get used to it, it actually really suits the genre. Like, I was surprised at how well this sort of fitted in. So our main character Bopra is an ex detective in San Francisco, and he is working as a private investigator. He is hired by this woman, and her husband has been shot and killed. She wants Bopra to find out who killed him, basically, and why. Because you have this, so obviously it's first person, so it's told through Bopra's sort of point of view, and you have this sort of like initially he comes off quite closed off, you know, quite like unapproachable, you know, like sort of like ex-police, you know, don't talk to me, I'm separate from everyone. He has that sort of vibe. But what I really liked was that as you keep reading, the relationship between Bopra and the reader sort of develops and becomes, you know, it develops along with the story, which isn't really, you know, sometimes you read first person novels and they begin with, you know, the main character telling the reader everything about their backstory and stuff like that, but this was very much, you have to earn that information. And I really enjoyed that. I thought it really worked with the genre as well. It was an excellent choice as far as I'm concerned. And sort of as this relationship develops, the reader starts to learn more things about Bopra. So, like, for example, he has like a heart of gold. He's very determined. His intuition is on point, can I say, for most of it. These attributes of his sort of come through more clearly when he talks to like the women in his life, so mainly like Meredith and Stardust. And to be honest, Stardust was my favourite character. She was my favourite character. Like, nothing anybody can say will deter me. Like, she was my favourite character. Like, John Ritter had her mannerisms and her speech down. I thought she was such a realistic, gritty character. I loved her, and her role in the final act, which I can't say anything because that'll give it away, but her role in the final act was just incredible. I loved reading it. It was, you know, when you get that like warm fuzzy feeling inside when a character that you really like does something like so cool and you're like, yes, go you. That's what I had the entire time. So as I said, this plot has a lot of moving parts, so it is a bit complicated, but it is worth the effort to get through to it. One of the other things that I liked about this novel, because in a lot of crime fiction, you know, you get your main detective who's better than everyone else and special, and they get lucky and they find this like one clue that leads them all to the rest of the crime and they solve it all. Whereas with Fatal Conceit, Bopra only manages to get as far as he does by being so persistent and annoying to other people. Like, he digs deep. He digs deeper than anyone else has, and that's how he gets through. So, but for the first sort of third, there's not a lot happening. You do have to keep reading it in order to find, like, to get to the point where it sort of picks up a bit and the actual action starts happening. But there is a lot of initial characterization and sort of like, not so much world building because it is sort of set in reality, but, you know, getting to know like the narrative style and Bopra as a person, like, as I said, and stuff like that. It is worth it. As soon as you get through like the final act, the final third of it just had me like, I think I just sat and read it all in a day, because that final act was absolutely thrilling. Like, I was hooked. It was so good. But yeah, a lot of times the plot is so big, like there are so many moving parts and so many different bits, and at first they don't seem connected, and then you sort of get through it and you're like, oh, okay, they are connected. I think the one thing I didn't really like that much about it is that some of the final conclusions in the last sort of couple of pages just come out of nowhere. Like I would have appreciated maybe a wee bit more foreshadowing, or a wee bit like a couple more hints that were maybe, I mean, maybe they were there and I missed them, but if they'd been just like a wee bit more obvious, you know, it would have been a more sort of satisfying ending, because that was the only sort of bit that sort of threw me, was that towards the end, or in the last like 3 chapters, you know, Bopra's like making all these assumptions and he's like sorting out his case as you do at the end, and he's like, you know, coming out with these facts, and you're like, where did that come from? When did you realise this? If it was a third person narrated book, I think I would be more okay with it, because, you know, you don't see their brain processes, but in this, in first person, you do. And I think that all the sort of assumptions that a policeman would make has to be backed up. But yeah, other than that, I highly recommend Fatal Conceit by John Ritter. It is incredible. The links to the Goodreads and the Amazon page will be down in the description below, as will my written review, which will be on my blog. Thank you for watching. If you are interested in other 5-minute reviews, I have a whole playlist of them, and I will pop them up above in a wee card. Should be coming should be coming up just right about now. If you like this video, please leave us a thumbs up and subscribe. I really appreciate it when new people subscribe. If you would like to follow me on Twitter and Instagram for constant updates, my Twitter is @writingwerewolf and my Instagram is @writingwerewolf.reads. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all again. Bye!